All right, and I'm back. So pretty much what I was saying is that we were pretty much going through different things that we could not seek godly counsel for. So we did a lot of confiding in each other. So as time went on, she ended up leaving the church. She was the second person of our friend group to do so. And at one point, I invited her to my church, and then at one point, she invited me to her new church. So we would just kind of like, hit it off a little bit more so because I wasn't really talking too much or spending any time with my initial BFF at the time. So we were kind of doing more things together. So it was fine. I knew that she still was going through different things. I knew some of the things that she was going through. And like I said, we were kind of getting a little bit more closer just because I was in my separation. And by that time, I think she was in the process of about to file for divorce and stuff like that. So this one particular friend, like I said, she and her husband had been like on a baby journey and stuff like that. She had lost 2 babies and stuff like that. And I actually, was at the hospital, with both of the children that she had lost, and sung at her wedding and stuff like that, sung at the hospital per request with her and her husband, just really supporting her throughout those times because it was a lot. She wanted to be a mom and she went through a lot of different things. And then on top of that was going through marital issues at the end, So like I said, just kind of like our grief and our trauma that we were dealing with kind of grew us closer together. But as time went on, after my husband had passed in 2024, that was like post like Dark Night of the Soul, Spiritual Awakening, all that stuff. Nobody had showed up for my husband's funeral. So I will say this, my BFF was the only one that really kind of knew of all of the ongoing things that were going on with the hospital visits and him being sick and when he got sick and all that stuff. I didn't make it known to everybody. So my BFF one time she had asked me could she go see him, and my husband's immune system was compromised, being in the hospital for the duration of time that he was in, anybody really, I was just being mindful to make sure that I'm being mindful of his immune system and his condition and making sure that he's not, getting sick from anyone else, and also the same as well, not bringing people in his environment. And because I think at that time she had a newborn grandbaby. So at the time, I think I told her that wasn't the best time, but then she never followed back up with another time. So she never, throughout the duration of my husband being in the hospital, a year and a half, never visited him at all. And then, so she was like really the only one, and really no other family members outside of my mom had visited him on my side and stuff like that. And then once it was known that my husband had eventually passed away and stuff like that, people were reaching out and stuff like that. And I will say it took some time in regards for the planning and stuff like that because I did not have insurance at the time. I was going through financial stuff. You know what I'm saying? At one time I was carrying life insurance for him, for me, for my mom. You know what I'm saying? So when I had it, but when I didn't, I did not. So my best friend at the time, once she knew, that my husband passed away, she was helping me kind of locate because, when you have funds that are limited, you have to kind of do a little bit more groundwork and legwork, try to get resources in all the different parts. So pretty much she was there, and then I had my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law that was helping as well to kind of like govern things on their side, and she was helping me with things on my side, So she was there initially to kind of help me with those plannings, and then because I did the obituaries, I ended up planning my husband's funeral, spoke, was the main speaker, at the memorial service and stuff like that, because we had like 2 parts, memorial services and a wake. And then I had designed the obituary, so they actually gave funds. Her husband gave funds to help support that. She actually helped me do some of the legwork and stuff like that. So like I said, I do appreciate that. But it was like after everything was over, I think that evening when my husband had the funeral, I went out with some in-laws and we had dinner. And then that next day when we had to wait, I went out to breakfast with my best friend and her husband and my dad and stuff like that. But everything else went right back to normal with the friendship. We wasn't really talking like that. No one came over to bring me dinner, bring me bread, to break bread with me, to see how I was doing. I'm not going to say they didn't call and stuff like that, but like I said, a friendship over that duration of time, I was expecting her to really, like to support. Well, I wasn't expecting, but I was needing the support. I'll say that. I didn't expect anything from anybody, but I was needing the support. And then with the other friend that I was saying now, once she did find out, so the rest of the friend group had found out, and my best friend, she was the one to announce it. I think she was saying in the church and stuff like that. And like I said, I will say it was a delay on my part because I was trying to make sure, and there was a lot of changes. He was at one funeral home, and it was just a lot of duration. I had to manage all this stuff, and I was the primary person doing it, you know what I'm saying? So it was just a lot of moving parts. But for whatever